The merciless Arizona sun beat down on Olivia Palmer's sunburnt skin as she struggled against the iron chains binding her to the weathered wooden post. Her parched lips cracked as she attempted to call for help, but her voice had long since failed her in the scorching heat of the summer of 1878. The distant sound of hoofbeats was either salvation or hallucination. She was no longer certain which. Olivia had been left to die by McCready's gang after refusing to reveal the location of her family's gold claim. 3 days in the desert sun had left her drifting in and out of consciousness, her once fine blue dress now tattered and stained with sweat and dirt. The hoofbeats grew louder. Olivia forced her swollen eyes open to see a lone figure on horseback approaching through the shimmering heat waves. As he drew closer, she could make out a tall man with broad shoulders atop a magnificent chestnut stallion. "My God," the rider muttered as he quickly dismounted, his spurs jingling as his boots hit the dusty ground. His face was shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat, but she could see the tight line of his mouth as he surveyed her condition. He turned toward a second rider approaching in the distance and called out, "Sheriff, get over here." Then he looked back at the man who'd accompanied the sheriff and who remained mounted on his horse. "And you, untie her before I do it myself." The second man, wearing a deputy's badge, hesitated. "Now, Valentine, you know we can't just—" "The hell we can't," Valentine said, already pulling a canteen from his saddle and approaching Olivia. He poured a small amount of water onto a handkerchief and gently dabbed her cracked lips. "Easy now, madam, just a little at first." Olivia felt the blessed coolness of the damp cloth against her skin. Her eyes fluttered as she tried to focus on her rescuer's face. Valentine Shaw had seen his share of cruelty in his 30 years, but the sight of this young woman chained like an animal made his blood boil. Her auburn hair was matted with dust, and her skin was red and blistered from exposure, but even in this state, he could see she was beautiful. "Deputy Miller, I won't ask again," Valentine growled, his hand moving to the revolver at his hip. The sheriff, who had finally arrived, dismounted and approached. "Stand down, Val. Miller, get those chains off her. This ain't how we treat folks in Copper Creek territory, guilty or innocent." As the deputy reluctantly produced a set of keys, Valentine continued to dab water on Olivia's face and neck. "Can you hear me, madam? What's your name?" "Olivia," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Olivia Palmer." The chains fell away and Olivia collapsed into Valentine's arms. He caught her with surprising gentleness for a man his size. "Miss Palmer, I'm Valentine Shaw. This is Sheriff Buchanan. You're safe now." "McCready," she managed to say. "His gang, they wanted?" "Save your strength," Valentine said, lifting her onto his horse. "We'll talk when you're recovered." He mounted behind her, supporting her limp body against his chest. "Sheriff, I'm taking her to Doc Wilson's." "You coming?" Sheriff Buchanan nodded. "I'll be along. Need to examine this scene first. Looks like McCready's work all right." Valentine nudged his horse forward, careful to keep the pace smooth for the injured woman in his arms. Olivia felt the steady rhythm of the horse beneath her, and the solid warmth of the man behind her. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to relax slightly, knowing she was no longer alone in the vast desert. Doc Wilson's small medical office in Copper Creek was the closest thing to a hospital for 50 miles. The elderly physician had seen every manner of frontier injury and illness during his 20 years in the territory. When Valentine arrived carrying the unconscious woman, Wilson immediately cleared his examination table. What in tarnation happened to her? "Found her chained to a post out in Devil's Pass," Valentine explained, gently laying Olivia down. "Been there at least a couple of days by the look of her." Wilson's bushy eyebrows drew together as he examined Olivia's burns and dehydration. "This poor girl's lucky to be alive. McCready's gang." Valentine nodded grimly. She managed to say his name before passing out. "I'll need to treat these burns and get fluids into her. You'd best wait outside." Valentine hesitated, looking at Olivia's pale face. "Will she survive?" "Hard to say," Wilson admitted, "but she's made it this far." Shows she's got spirit. He began gathering supplies. Martha, he called to his wife, bring me clean water and the burned salve. Valentine reluctantly stepped outside onto the wooden porch of the doctor's office. The main street of Copper Creek stretched before him, a dusty thoroughfare lined with false-fronted buildings. The town had grown considerably since silver was discovered in the nearby mountains 5 years earlier, but it was still a rough place where law and order hung by a thread. He leaned against a post, his mind filled with the image of Olivia Palmer chained in the desert sun. Valentine had seen his share of violence since coming west after the war, but the deliberate cruelty of leaving a woman to die so slowly turned his stomach. Sheriff Buchanan rode up an hour later, dismounting and tying his horse to the hitching post. "How is she?" "Doc, still with her," Valentine replied. "Did you find anything at the scene?" "Boot prints from at least 4 men, Buchanan said, removing his hat and wiping his brow. "And I recognized the chain as the same type McCready used on that stage driver last month." Valentine's jaw tightened. Raymond McCready had been terrorizing the territory for the past year, robbing stagecoaches and mining camps with increasingly violent methods. The territorial governor had placed a substantial bounty on his head, but McCready remained elusive, hiding in the network of canyons that riddled the region. "I've been tracking McCready for months," Valentine said. "This is the closest I've come." Buchanan studied him. "You're not still working as a bounty hunter, are you, Val? Thought you gave that up when you bought the ranch." "I did," Valentine replied, "but McCready's personal. He killed my friend Jackson last spring." The door opened and Doc Wilson emerged, wiping his hands on a towel. "She's stabilized. Burns aren't as deep as I feared, but she's severely dehydrated. Another day out there would have killed her." "Is she awake?" Valentine asked. "In and out," Wilson said. "She's been asking for you, though. The man with the water, she called you." Valentine exchanged a glance with the sheriff before stepping inside. The office was cool and smelled of medicinal herbs and alcohol. Olivia lay on the examination table, now covered with a clean sheet. Martha Wilson had cleaned her face and arms, revealing a young woman of perhaps 25 years, with delicate features and auburn hair spread across the pillow. Her eyes fluttered open as Valentine approached, revealing irises the color of a summer sky. Recognition flickered in them as she focused on his face. "You came back," she whispered. "I did," Valentine said, removing his hat. "How are you feeling, Miss Palmer?" "Like I've been dragged behind a wild horse," she said with the ghost of a smile, "but alive thanks to you." Valentine pulled a chair beside her bed. "Miss Palmer, I know you need rest, but anything you can tell us about McCready would help. Sheriff Buchanan is here too." Olivia's eyes darted to the sheriff standing in the doorway, then back to Valentine. She seemed to make a decision. "My father and I came from Boston last year," she began, her voice gaining strength. "He purchased a claim in the Superstition Mountains. We struck gold 2 months ago, a rich vein. Father was ecstatic." She paused, pain crossing her features that had nothing to do with her physical condition. "McCready somehow learned of our find. His men came at night. They shot my father when he tried to protect me." A tear slid down her cheek. "They wanted the location of our mine. I wouldn't tell them." Valentine felt a surge of admiration for her courage. "So they left you to die in the desert." She nodded. "McCready said when I was ready to talk I could call out the location, said he'd have men watching, but I knew once I told them they'd kill me too." Sheriff Buchanan stepped forward. "Miss Palmer, I'm sorry about your father. We'll post guards here to make sure you're safe." Olivia's eyes widened with sudden fear. "The deed. I hid the deed to our claim in my boot before they took me. If they find it, easy now," Valentine soothed. "Your boots are right here." He retrieved them from beside the table and handed them to her. With trembling fingers, Olivia reached into the right boot and extracted a folded paper from a hidden compartment in the heel. She clutched it to her chest with evident relief. "This is all I have left of my father's dream," she said softly. "Without it, I have no proof the claim is mine." Valentine exchanged glances with Buchanan. They both knew how the territorial courts treated women trying to claim mining rights. Without clear documentation and a man to back her claim, Olivia would likely lose everything. "You should rest now," Valentine said, rising. "The doctor says you need time to recover." Olivia reached out suddenly, grasping his wrist with surprising strength. "Please, don't leave me alone, they might come back." Valentine hesitated, then sat back down. "I'll stay until you fall asleep." Relief washed over her face as she relaxed against the pillow. "Thank you, Mr. Shaw." "Valentine," he corrected, "or Val if you prefer." "Valentine," she repeated, her eyes already drifting closed. "Like the saint." He watched as she slipped into sleep, her breathing becoming deep and regular. Martha Wilson returned with a pitcher of fresh water and more clean cloths. "She's a fighter, that one," Martha commented quietly. Valentine nodded. "She'll need to be." Over the next few days, Olivia recovered her strength under Doc Wilson's care. Valentine visited daily, bringing fresh fruit from the general store and books from his personal collection when he learned she enjoyed reading. On the fourth day, he found her sitting up in bed, color returned to her cheeks. The burns had begun to heal, leaving her skin pink but no longer angry red. "You look better," he said, placing a small basket of peaches beside her bed. "I feel almost human again," Olivia replied with a smile that transformed her face, revealing dimples and lighting up her eyes. "Dr. Wilson says I can leave tomorrow." Valentine nodded, suddenly aware of a problem they hadn't addressed. "Have you thought about where you'll go?" Her smile faded. "I need to return to my claim, it's all I have left." "That's not safe," Valentine said firmly. "McCready's still out there, and he knows what you look like." "I can't just abandon everything my father worked for," Olivia insisted. "That gold is my only means of survival now." Valentine ran a hand through his dark hair, considering the options. "The ranch house has a spare room. You could stay there until we catch McCready." Olivia studied him with those clear blue eyes. "Why would you do that for me? You don't even know me." "Maybe not," Valentine admitted, "but I know what it's like to lose everything and have to start over." He didn't elaborate and she didn't press him. After a moment, she nodded. "Thank you. I accept your offer, but only temporarily, and I insist on earning my keep." Valentine smiled. "I'm sure we can find something for you to do. My housekeeper, Mrs. Abernathy, could use some help. She's been complaining that one woman can't possibly manage the house alone." The next morning, Valentine arrived with a wagon to transport Olivia to his ranch. He had brought a dress that had belonged to his late sister, Mary, who had died of influenza 3 years earlier. The blue calico wasn't as fine as Olivia's ruined dress had once been, but it was clean and well made. "Thank you for the dress," Olivia said as Valentine helped her into the wagon. "I'll return it once I can purchase my own clothing." "No need," Valentine replied, climbing up beside her. "It's yours now." As they traveled the 5 miles to Valentine's ranch, Olivia took in the stark beauty of the Arizona landscape. Despite her ordeal, she couldn't help but admire the majestic saguaro cacti standing like sentinels against the blue sky and the distant purple mountains that seemed to shimmer in the heat. "It's beautiful in its own way, isn't it?" she said softly. "So different from Massachusetts." Valentine glanced at her. "Most people only see the harshness. They miss the beauty." "My father was like that," Olivia said. "He could see potential where others saw only obstacles. That's why he brought us west." Her voice caught. "He believed this land would give us a new beginning." Valentine was quiet for a moment. "My father was a dreamer too, came to California in '49 looking for gold, never found it, but he fell in love with the West anyway." "Is he still alive?" Valentine shook his head. "Died in '65, just after I came home from the war. My mother followed a year later." "Broken heart," the doctor said, "though I never believed that was a real condition until I saw it happen." Olivia studied his profile, the strong jaw, straight nose, and eyes the color of aged whiskey. There was kindness there, but also pain and something harder to define. "Experience, perhaps, or resilience. Were you at Gettysburg?" she asked suddenly. My brother died there. Valentine's hands tightened on the reins. I was worst day of my life. They fell silent after that, each lost in memories of those they had lost. The wagon crested a small rise, and Olivia gasped at the sight before her. Valentine's ranch spread across a verdant valley, fed by a creek that cut through the property. A large two-story house stood near a grove of cottonwood trees, with a barn and several outbuildings nearby. Cattle grazed on the grassland that stretched toward the distant mountains. Shaw Ranch, Valentine said with a hint of pride. 4,000 acres, built it from nothing 5 years ago. It's magnificent, Olivia breathed. I didn't expect to see so much green in the desert. Underground springs feed the creek year-round, Valentine explained. Makes this land special, valuable too. As they approached the house, a woman emerged onto the porch. Mrs. Abernathy was a sturdy widow in her 50s, with gray-streaked hair pulled into a severe bun. She watched with undisguised curiosity as Valentine helped Olivia down from the wagon. Mrs. Abernathy, this is Miss Olivia Palmer, Valentine said. She'll be staying with us for a while. The housekeeper's eyes took in Olivia's healing burns and the simple dress before nodding briskly. Welcome to Shaw Ranch, Miss Palmer. I've prepared the east bedroom for you. It gets the morning sun. Thank you, Olivia said. I appreciate your hospitality. Mr. Shaw told me about your ordeal, Mrs. Abernathy said, her expression softening slightly. A terrible business. You come inside now and have some tea while I show you around. As Olivia followed the housekeeper inside, Valentine called after them. I need to check the north pasture. I'll be back for supper. The interior of the house surprised Olivia with its refinement. Though distinctly Western in style, with beamed ceilings and large stone fireplaces, it contained quality furniture and tasteful decorations that spoke of culture and education. Did Mr. Shaw's wife decorate the house? Olivia asked as they entered a comfortable sitting room with bookshelves lining one wall. Mrs. Abernathy gave her a sharp look. Mr. Shaw's never been married. His sister Mary helped with the furnishings before she passed. He ordered most of it from catalogs back east. Olivia's eyes were drawn to the bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes. He enjoys reading every night, Mrs. Abernathy confirmed. Now, let me show you to your room so you can rest before supper. The east bedroom was lovely, with a large window overlooking the valley and a comfortable 4-poster bed. A washstand with a porcelain basin and pitcher stood in one corner, and a wardrobe in another. It was the most comfortable space Olivia had seen since leaving Boston. There are some of Mary's clothes in the wardrobe, Mrs. Abernathy said. Mr. Shaw said you should use whatever fits. The bathroom is down the hall. We have indoor plumbing, thank goodness. Mr. Shaw insisted on modern conveniences. Left alone, Olivia sank onto the edge of the bed, overwhelmed by the sudden change in her circumstances. A week ago, she had been fighting for her life, certain she would die alone in the desert. Now she was in this beautiful home being cared for by strangers. The thought of her father brought fresh grief, along with determination. She would not let his death be in vain. Somehow, she would find a way to claim what was rightfully hers and build the life they had dreamed of together. That evening, Olivia joined Valentine and Mrs. Abernathy for supper in the dining room. She had found a simple but elegant navy blue dress in the wardrobe that fit her reasonably well, though it was a bit loose in the waist. She had done her best with her hair, arranging it in a simple knot at the nape of her neck. Valentine stood when she entered, his eyes widening slightly. Miss Palmer, you look recovered. Amazing what soap and proper clothing can do, she replied with a small smile. Though I fear I don't do your sister's dress justice. You look just fine, he said, pulling out a chair for her. Please sit. Mrs. Abernathy had prepared a hearty meal of beef stew, fresh bread, and apple pie. As they ate, Valentine asked Olivia about her life before coming west. My father was a professor of geology at Harvard, she explained. He always had a fascination with mining and mineral deposits. When my mother died 3 years ago, he decided there was nothing keeping us in Boston anymore. My brother was gone and She hesitated. I had my own reasons for wanting a fresh start. Valentine nodded, not pressing for details she clearly wasn't ready to share. And the gold claim. How did he find it? Scientific method combined with luck, Olivia said, a fond smile touching her lips. He studied geological formations and water patterns. He was convinced that certain combinations of factors indicated gold deposits. Everyone thought he was eccentric, but he was right. Sounds like a remarkable man, Valentine said. He was. Olivia's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I miss him terribly. After supper, Valentine invited Olivia to join him on the porch. The evening was cool, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of sage and distant rain. They sat in rocking chairs, watching as the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Sheriff Buchanan rode out this afternoon while you were resting, Valentine said. McCready's gang was spotted near Tucson. They robbed the bank there yesterday. Olivia's hands tightened on the arms of her chair. Do you think they've given up looking for me? Valentine shook his head. Not if they believe you know where a rich gold vein is located. Men like McCready don't give up easily. What should I do? Olivia asked softly. Valentine considered before answering. For now, stay here where it's safe. Once McCready is captured or killed, we can sort out your claim. And if he's never caught, the question hung in the air between them, then we'll find another solution, Valentine promised. I won't let you lose what's rightfully yours. Olivia studied him in the fading light. Why are you helping me, Mr. Shaw? Truly, Valentine was silent for a long moment. Because 20 years ago, someone helped me when I needed it most. A stranger who owed me nothing showed me kindness that changed my life. He looked out at the darkening landscape. I've never forgotten that debt. As the days passed, Olivia settled into life at Shaw Ranch. True to her word, she insisted on earning her keep. She helped Mrs. Abernathy with household chores, proving herself adept in the kitchen despite her upper-class Boston upbringing. My mother believed every woman should know how to cook, she explained when Mrs. Abernathy expressed surprise at her skill with bread making. She said servants might come and go, but hunger was constant. Valentine often found excuses to be in the house during the day, something Mrs. Abernathy noted with raised eyebrows but no comment. He found himself enjoying Olivia's company, her quick intelligence and quiet strength impressing him more each day. 2 weeks after bringing Olivia to the ranch, Valentine received a visitor. Sheriff Buchanan rode up just as Valentine was finishing repairs on a corral fence. Any news on McCready? Valentine asked after they exchanged greetings. Buchanan dismounted, his expression grim. That's why I'm here. McCready's heading this way. Word is he's still looking for Miss Palmer and that gold claim. Valentine's jaw tightened. How did he know she's here? Might have been the deputy, Buchanan admitted reluctantly. Miller's been spending a lot of money lately, more than his salary would allow. Valentine cursed under his breath. I never trusted him. Neither did I, Buchanan agreed. I've relieved him of his badge, but the damage is done. You need to be on alert. McCready's got at least 6 men with him. Valentine nodded toward the house. I'll keep her safe. Buchanan studied him. You've grown fond of her. It wasn't a question, but Valentine answered anyway. She's a remarkable woman. Just be careful, Buchanan warned. A woman with a gold claim is a complicated situation. Plenty of men would marry her just to get their hands on that gold. Valentine's expression hardened. I'm not most men. I know that, Buchanan said. But does she? After the sheriff departed, Valentine found Olivia in the garden behind the house, harvesting vegetables for supper. The sight of her kneeling among the plants, her hair gleaming copper in the sunlight, caused a tightness in his chest that was becoming familiar. Olivia, he called. We need to talk. She looked up, shielding her eyes with one hand. Something in his expression made her set down her basket and approach him. What's wrong? She asked. Sheriff Buchanan was just here, Valentine said. McCready knows you're at the ranch. He's heading this way. Fear flashed across her face before being replaced by determination. "I won't put you and Mrs. Abernathy in danger. I should leave." "And go where?" Valentine asked. "No, the safest place for you is here. I have men working the ranch who are loyal and we're well armed." "I won't hide while others fight my battles," Olivia insisted. "My father taught me to shoot. I'm quite good with a rifle." Valentine couldn't help but smile. "Somehow that doesn't surprise me." That evening, Valentine gathered his ranch hands in the main house. 8 men, all experienced frontiersmen who had worked for him for years, listened as he explained the situation. "I'm not asking any of you to risk your lives," Valentine concluded. "If you want to leave until this is over, I'll understand. Your pay will continue regardless." The men exchanged glances before Diego, his foreman for 5 years, spoke up. "We're staying, boss. No gang of outlaws is going to run us off our land." Valentine nodded, touched by their loyalty. "Thank you. We'll post watches tonight, 2 men at a time. McCready's not likely to attack until he's scouted the property, but I don't want to take chances." As the men dispersed to their positions, Valentine found Olivia in the sitting room, a book open in her lap, though her eyes weren't focused on the pages. "Your men are very loyal to you," she observed. Valentine sat in the chair opposite her. "I try to treat them fairly, pay them well, respect their work." "It's more than that," Olivia said. "They respect you, trust you." She closed her book. "I've been thinking about my claim." "What about it?" "If something happens to me," she said quietly, "I want you to have it. The deed is in my room, in my boot still. I've written a letter leaving it to you." Valentine stared at her. "Nothing's going to happen to you. You can't promise that," Olivia replied. "And I need to know that if I die, McCready won't profit from my father's death. You'd use the gold honestly, help people with it." "Olivia," Valentine said, leaning forward, "I don't want your gold, I want you to be safe." Their eyes met and held. The air between them seemed to thicken with unspoken emotions. "I've never met anyone like you," Olivia whispered. "In Boston, men saw me as either a possession to be acquired or a threat to be contained. My fiancé," she stopped abruptly. "You were engaged." Valentine asked, surprised she hadn't mentioned this before. Olivia nodded, her expression turning distant. "To the son of my father's colleague. It was expected, appropriate." Her mouth twisted. "Until he decided I was too opinionated, too educated for a proper wife. He preferred women who simpered and agreed with everything he said." "His loss," Valentine said simply. Olivia's eyes refocused on him, a smile slowly spreading across her face. "Yes, I suppose it was." The night passed without incident, but tension remained high as dawn broke over the ranch. Valentine had slept little, spending most of the night checking on his men at their posts and listening for any unusual sounds. Olivia found him on the porch at sunrise, a cup of coffee cooling in his hand as he scanned the horizon. "Did you sleep at all?" she asked, joining him at the railing. "A few hours," he replied, not taking his eyes from the distant hills. "Diego thought he saw movement near the North Ridge last night, but couldn't be sure." "They're watching us," Olivia said. It wasn't a question, Valentine nodded. "Likely trying to determine our defenses before making a move." Olivia straightened her shoulders. "Then we should go about our normal routine, show them we're not afraid." Valentine turned to look at her, admiration in his eyes. "You're not much like other women I've known, Olivia Palmer." "I'll take that as a compliment," she said with a small smile. It was meant as one. They were still standing close together when Mrs. Abernathy opened the door to announce breakfast was ready. The housekeeper took in their proximity with raised eyebrows but made no comment as they followed her inside. The day passed with excruciating slowness. Valentine assigned men to continue ranch work in pairs, ensuring no one was isolated and vulnerable. Olivia insisted on hanging laundry in the yard despite Valentine's objections, arguing that hiding inside would only show fear. As dusk approached, Valentine called everyone into the house. "They'll likely come tonight," he said. "McCready prefers to attack in darkness." Weapons were distributed and positions assigned. Mrs. Abernathy, despite her age, proved to be handy with a shotgun. "My late husband taught me," she explained when Olivia expressed surprise. "Said a woman alone needs to protect herself." Valentine stationed himself near the front of the house, with Diego at the back. The other men were positioned at windows and doors throughout the building. Olivia, armed with a Winchester rifle, stayed in the sitting room with Mrs. Abernathy. The first shot came just after midnight. A bullet shattered the window of the kitchen, sending glass spraying across the floor. "They're here," Diego called from his position. Valentine motioned to the men nearest him. "Hold your fire until you have a clear target. Don't waste ammunition." Gunfire erupted from multiple directions as McCready's gang surrounded the house. Valentine counted at least 5 distinct positions where muzzle flashes illuminated the darkness. One of the ranch hands, a young man named Tomas, cried out as a bullet grazed his arm. Valentine pulled him away from the window. "Get to the back room. Have Mrs. Abernathy bandage that." The firefight continued for nearly an hour, neither side gaining an advantage. Valentine's men were well positioned and disciplined, returning fire only when they had clear shots. 2 of McCready's gang had been hit, but the attackers showed no signs of retreating. Then came a moment of chilling silence. "What are they doing?" Olivia whispered, having made her way to Valentine's side despite his orders to stay back. Before he could answer, a voice called out from the darkness. "Shaw, send out the Palmer woman and we'll leave your ranch standing. Otherwise, we burn it to the ground." Valentine's jaw tightened. "That's McCready." "I know that voice," Olivia confirmed, her face pale but determined in the dim light. "That's the man who killed my father." "You're not going out there," Valentine said firmly. "I have no intention of surrendering," Olivia replied, "but perhaps we can use his demand to our advantage." Valentine studied her. "What do you have in mind?" Olivia explained her plan quickly. Valentine initially rejected it as too dangerous, but after further discussion and with time running short, he reluctantly agreed it was their best chance to end the standoff. "McCready," Valentine called out. "We need time to discuss your offer. You have 5 minutes," came the reply. "Then we start lighting torches." Valentine gathered his men, explaining the plan in hushed tones. Diego shook his head. "It's risky, boss." "It's our best chance," Valentine insisted. "Are you with me?" The men nodded, though their expressions remained doubtful. 5 minutes later, Valentine called out again. "McCready, the woman agrees to come out if you and your men throw down your weapons." A harsh laugh answered him. "Do you take me for a fool, Shaw? Send her out now, or we burn you out." "She's coming out," Valentine replied, "but she'll have the deed with her. You kill her, you'll never find the gold." There was a pause as McCready considered this. "Send her out, just her." Valentine turned to Olivia, who stood ready in the hallway. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do," she said quietly. "For my father, for myself." She touched his cheek briefly. "For us." Before he could respond, she stepped past him toward the door, rifle hidden in the folds of her skirt. "Ready?" Valentine asked his men. They nodded, moving into position. Olivia took a deep breath and opened the front door, stepping onto the porch with her hands raised. In the moonlight, she could make out several figures crouched behind rocks and trees at the edge of the yard. "I have the deed," she called, "but I'll only give it to McCready himself." A tall figure emerged from behind a large boulder. Raymond McCready was an imposing man with a scar running down one side of his face and cold eyes that glittered in the moonlight. "Miss Palmer," he said, his voice deceptively gentle. "I was beginning to think you'd died in the desert." "That would have been unfortunate." "You mean you'd never have found the gold," Olivia replied steadily. "That's all you care about," McCready smiled, revealing tobacco-stained teeth. "Gold has a way of focusing a man's attention. Now, where's that deed?" "First, call your men out where I can see them," Olivia demanded. "I want to know how many guns are pointed at me," McCready chuckled. "Cautious, aren't you? Boys, show yourselves to the lady." 5 men emerged from various hiding places, all with weapons trained on Olivia. She counted silently, noting their positions as Valentine had instructed. "The deed," McCready prompted, taking a step closer. It's right here, Olivia said, reaching slowly into her pocket. Instead of paper, she withdrew a small derringer and fired directly at McCready. The bullet struck him in the shoulder, spinning him around as he howled in pain and surprise. Instantly, Valentine and his men opened fire from their hidden positions around the yard, having quietly exited the house through back windows and doors during the standoff. Caught in crossfire and with their leader wounded, McCready's gang scattered. 2 fell immediately, while the others returned fire as they retreated toward their horses. Olivia dropped to the porch floor as bullets splintered the wood around her. Valentine raced toward her, firing his revolver at a gang member who had aimed at the porch. "Stay down," he shouted, reaching her side and covering her body with his own as the gunfight continued around them. The battle was over in minutes. 3 of McCready's men lay dead in the yard, while 2 others had escaped on horseback. McCready himself had managed to crawl behind a water trough, where he now sat clutching his bleeding shoulder, his gun lying in the dirt beside him. Valentine helped Olivia to her feet. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, though her face was pale with shock now that the immediate danger had passed. "No, you—" "I'm fine," he assured her, though a bullet had grazed his arm, leaving a bloody streak across his sleeve. Together they approached McCready, Valentine keeping his gun trained on the outlaw while Diego retrieved the man's fallen weapon. "Raymond McCready," Valentine said coldly. "You're under arrest for murder, kidnapping, and attempted murder." McCready glared up at them, his face twisted with pain and hatred. "You've made a mistake, Shaw. I have friends, powerful friends who won't let me hang." "Maybe," Valentine conceded, "but you'll never touch Miss Palmer or her gold, that I promise you." Sheriff Buchanan arrived the next morning with 2 deputies, neither of them Miller, to take McCready into custody. The wounded outlaw was loaded into a wagon for transport to the territorial prison in Yuma. "You 2 make quite a team," Buchanan commented as he prepared to leave. Taking down McCready when the territorial marshals couldn't manage it. Valentine glanced at Olivia, who stood on the porch watching the proceedings. "We had good motivation." Buchanan followed his gaze. "What will she do now? Return to her claim?" "That's her decision," Valentine replied. "But I hope she stays." After the sheriff departed with his prisoner, Valentine found Olivia in the garden, sitting on a bench beneath an apple tree. The morning sun filtered through the leaves, dappling her face with light and shadow. "McCready's gone," he said, sitting beside her. "He'll stand trial in Tucson next month," Olivia nodded. "I should testify. Tell them what he did to my father." "I'll go with you," Valentine offered. They sat in companionable silence for a moment before Olivia spoke again. "I've been thinking about what happens now." Valentine tensed slightly. "And the gold claim is legally mine," she said. "I could hire men to work it, build a life there as my father intended." Valentine felt a weight settle in his chest at the thought of her leaving, but he nodded. "If that's what you want, I'll help you get started." Olivia turned to face him. "But that's not what I want, not anymore." Hope flared in Valentine's eyes. "What do you want, Olivia?" "When I came west with my father, I was running away from a life that felt suffocating," she explained. "I thought I wanted independence, freedom from society's expectations." She took a deep breath. "But these past weeks have shown me that what I really want is to build something meaningful, with someone who sees me as I truly am and values me for it." Valentine took her hand. "I see you, Olivia Palmer. I've seen you from the moment I found you in the desert." "And I see you, Valentine Shaw," she replied softly. "A man of honor and compassion who hides his gentle heart behind a gunfighter's reputation." Valentine smiled. "Not very successfully, it seems." "Only to those who look closely," Olivia assured him. Valentine's expression grew serious. "What about the claim, your father's dream?" "My father's dream was for me to be happy and secure," Olivia said. "The gold was just a means to that end." She squeezed his hand. "Besides, I was thinking the profits could build a school for the children of ranchers and miners who have no access to education, a legacy that would truly honor my father's memory." Valentine brought her hand to his lips. "Olivia Palmer, you continue to amaze me. Is that a good thing?" She asked, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "The best thing," he assured her. "So good, in fact, that I find myself hoping you might consider making your stay at Shaw Ranch permanent." Olivia's eyes widened. "Valentine Shaw, are you proposing marriage?" "Inelegantly, perhaps," he admitted. "But yes, I am. I know it's sudden, yes." Olivia interrupted. Valentine blinked. "Yes, yes," she repeated, her smile broadening. "I will marry you." Valentine pulled her into his arms, his lips finding hers in a kiss that spoke of promises and possibilities, of a future neither had imagined when he first found her chained to that post in the desert sun. The wedding took place 2 months later in the garden of Shaw Ranch. Sheriff Buchanan stood as Valentine's best man, while Mrs. Abernathy, beaming with approval, attended Olivia. The ranch hands built an arbor of cottonwood branches and wildflowers, beneath which the couple exchanged vows before a traveling minister. Olivia wore a gown of ivory silk ordered from San Francisco, with her mother's pearl necklace the one possession she had brought west that Macready's men hadn't stolen. Valentine, uncharacteristically nervous, wore a new black suit and polished boots. "I, Valentine James Shaw, take you, Olivia Catherine Palmer, to be my lawfully wedded wife," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion shining in his eyes. "To have and to hold, from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until death do us part." Olivia repeated the vows, her voice clear and confident. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Valentine kissed his bride to the cheers and applause of their assembled friends and neighbors. The celebration continued well into the evening, with a feast prepared by Mrs. Abernathy and music provided by Diego, and several other ranch hands who proved surprisingly talented with guitars and fiddles. As the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in the same brilliant hues Olivia had admired on her first evening at the ranch, Valentine led his wife in a dance beneath lanterns strung from the cottonwood trees. "Happy, Mrs. Shaw?" he asked, holding her close. "Extraordinarily so, Mr. Shaw," she replied, her eyes reflecting the lantern light. "Though I must admit, when I was chained to that post in the desert, I never imagined this would be my fate." Valentine's arms tightened around her. "When I saw you there, something inside me knew, even then." "Knew what?" Olivia asked, tilting her head back to look at him. "That you were meant to be here," he said simply. "With me." 1 year later, Olivia stood on the porch of Shaw Ranch, watching as Valentine returned from town with the wagon. Her hand rested on her swollen belly, feeling the strong kicks of the child who would arrive within the month. The gold claim had indeed proven valuable. True to her word, Olivia had used the proceeds to establish a school on the edge of their property, hiring a teacher from Boston who had been eager for Western adventure. 20 children now received education that would have been impossible before. Valentine's cattle business had flourished as well, allowing them to expand the ranch and improve the living conditions for their workers. Diego had been promoted to full partner, managing operations when Valentine accompanied Olivia to Tucson for her school board meetings. As the wagon drew closer, Olivia saw that Valentine was not alone. A young woman sat beside him, looking nervously at the ranch house. "Who's this?" Olivia asked as Valentine helped the woman down from the wagon. "This is Sarah," Valentine explained. "Sheriff Buchanan asked if we might give her employment. She's trying to make a fresh start." Olivia immediately understood the unspoken message. The young woman's worn clothing and wary expression spoke of hard times and harder choices. "We're always in need of help with the school and the house," Olivia said warmly. "Especially with the baby coming soon. Welcome to Shaw Ranch, Sarah." Relief washed over the young woman's face. "Thank you, madam. I'm a hard worker, I promise." "I'm sure you are," Olivia said. "Mrs. Abernathy will show you to your room. After you've rested, we can discuss your duties." As Sarah followed Mrs. Abernathy into the house, Valentine wrapped his arm around Olivia's shoulders. "You didn't even hesitate," he said softly. "Neither did you once," Olivia reminded him. "When you found a woman in need of help." Valentine placed his hand over hers on her belly, feeling their child move beneath their joined fingers. "Best decision I ever made. Untying me before you did it yourself," Olivia teased. Valentine laughed, the sound rich and full in the clear desert air. "That too, but I meant bringing you home." Olivia leaned into his embrace, grateful for the chain of events that had brought her to this place, this man, this life. From the darkest moment of her existence had come a happiness she could never have imagined. "Home," she repeated softly. "Yes, that's exactly what this is." As the sun began its descent toward the distant mountains, casting long shadows across the land they had both come to love, Valentine and Olivia Shaw stood together on the porch of the home they had built, not just the physical structure of wood and stone, but the deeper foundation of love, trust, and shared purpose that would sustain them through whatever challenges the frontier might yet bring. In the distance, a rider approached, likely one of the ranch hands returning from checking the herd. The rhythmic hoofbeats echoed across the valley, a sound that had once signaled rescue for a woman chained and abandoned, now simply part of the everyday symphony of their life together. Valentine's arm tightened around his wife as they watched the approaching rider. "No matter what happens," he said quietly, "no matter what challenges come our way, I will always be grateful for that day in the desert." Olivia turned in his embrace, rising on tiptoe to press her lips to his. "As will I, my love. As will I." 5 years later, Olivia sat on a blanket beneath the cottonwood trees, watching as Valentine taught their 4-year-old son James to ride his pony. The boy's delighted laughter carried across the yard as the gentle animal trotted in a small circle, Valentine walking alongside with a steadying hand on James's back. Their 2-year-old daughter Catherine played nearby, carefully arranging rocks and sticks in patterns that made sense only to her. With her auburn hair and serious expression, she was a miniature version of her mother. "Look, Mama," James called. "I'm riding by myself, I see, darling," Olivia called back, pride warming her voice. "You're a natural horseman, just like your father." Valentine's face glowed with paternal pride as he gradually removed his hand, allowing James to balance on his own. The boy sat straight and confident, his dark hair so like Valentine's ruffling in the breeze. The Shaw Ranch had prospered beyond their expectations. The school now served over 50 children from surrounding ranches and the growing town of Copper Creek. Valentine's breeding program had produced some of the finest cattle in the territory, and their partnership with Diego had expanded to include several neighboring properties. Sarah, the young woman they had taken in 5 years earlier, now served as assistant teacher at the school, having discovered a natural talent for education. She had married one of the ranch hands 2 years ago, and they lived in a small house on the property. Mrs. Abernathy remained with them, now more grandmother than housekeeper to the children, though she still insisted on overseeing the kitchen. "No one makes biscuits properly anymore," she would grumble, even as she taught Olivia her closely guarded recipes. Life wasn't without challenges. Droughts had threatened their herds, and conflicts between settlers and Native Americans occasionally flared in the territory. But the foundation Valentine and Olivia had built together proved strong enough to weather whatever came their way. As the sun began to set, Valentine lifted James from the pony and set him on his shoulders, the boy's delighted squeals bringing a smile to Olivia's face. Catherine abandoned her rock collection to toddle toward her father, arms raised in silent demand to be picked up as well. Valentine scooped her up with his free arm, balancing a child on each side as he walked toward Olivia. "I think these young wranglers are ready for supper," he said, his eyes crinkling at the corners in the way that still made Olivia's heart skip. "And their father?" Olivia asked, rising to brush dust from her skirt. "Is he hungry too?" Valentine's gaze softened as it always did when he looked at her. Starving, for food and for some time alone with my wife once these little rascals are asleep. Olivia laughed, linking her arm through his as they walked toward the house. Mrs. Abernathy promised to read them an extra-long bedtime story tonight. Remind me to give that woman a raise, Valentine murmured, causing Olivia to laugh again. Later that evening, with the children asleep and the house quiet, Valentine and Olivia sat on the porch swing, a tradition they had maintained throughout their marriage. The night was clear, stars scattered across the vast Arizona sky like diamonds on black velvet. "I had a letter from Boston today," Olivia said, her head resting on Valentine's shoulder. "My father's colleague, Professor Henderson, is retiring. He asked if I would consider returning to lecture on Western mining operations." Valentine's arm tightened slightly around her. "Do you want to go?" Olivia looked up at him. "Not to stay, but perhaps to visit. The children should see where their mother came from, don't you think? And I admit I'm curious to see how the city has changed." She paused. "You would come with us, of course." Valentine considered this. "Diego could manage things here for a few weeks, and I've never seen Boston." "You'd hate it," Olivia predicted with a smile. "Too crowded, too formal, too Eastern. But I'd love seeing it through your eyes," Valentine countered. "Seeing the places that shaped you into the woman I love." Olivia reached up to touch his face, her fingers tracing the lines that years of sun and laughter had etched around his eyes. "Then we'll go. Next spring, perhaps, when the weather is milder." They fell silent, rocking gently as the night deepened around them. From inside the house came the soft ticking of the grandfather clock Valentine had ordered from St. Louis for their 3rd anniversary, marking the peaceful passing of time in their shared life. "I've been thinking," Valentine said eventually. "A dangerous pastime," Olivia teased, using one of their private jokes. He smiled, but his eyes remained serious. "What if we expanded the school? Build a proper academy that could serve students from across the territory, with dormitories for those who live too far to travel daily." Olivia sat up straighter, excitement kindling in her eyes. "A real academy with advanced subjects," Valentine nodded. "Science, literature, mathematics, even geology in honor of your father." He took her hand. "You could design the curriculum yourself, hire teachers from back east if necessary." "It would be expensive," Olivia said, though he could tell her mind was already racing with possibilities. "The ranch is doing well," Valentine said. "And there's still gold coming from your father's claim. What better use for it than education?" Olivia threw her arms around his neck. "Valentine Shaw, have I told you lately that you're a remarkable man?" "Not since breakfast," he replied, pulling her closer. "Well, you are," she said firmly. "Most men in this territory see education as an afterthought, especially for girls, but you understand its importance." Valentine shrugged. "I just know how happy it makes you, and I happen to believe that happy wives make for happy lives." Olivia laughed, the sound as joyful and free as it had been on their wedding day. "Is that cowboy wisdom?" "The wisest kind," he assured her, before capturing her lips in a kiss that held all the passion and tenderness of their years together. As they sat entwined on the porch of the home they had built together, the vast desert landscape stretching around them under the canopy of stars, both silently acknowledged how far they had come from that fateful day when a woman chained to a post and a cowboy with a conscience had crossed paths in the merciless desert sun. Their story, which had begun in cruelty and desperation, had transformed into something beautiful and enduring, a testament to the power of compassion, courage, and love to overcome even the harshest beginnings. And as the night deepened around Shaw Ranch, with their children sleeping safely inside and their dreams for the future taking shape between them, Valentine and Olivia Shaw held tight to each other, grateful for the twist of fate that had brought them together and the choice they had made to build a life worthy of that second chance. The legacy they created of love, learning, and opportunity would extend far beyond their own lifetimes, touching countless lives across the territory for generations to come. But for now, in this moment, they were simply a man and woman who had found in each other exactly what they needed. The courage to face whatever came, the wisdom to value what truly mattered, and the love that made everything else possible. In the quiet of that Arizona night, with the woman he loved in his arms and the life they'd built surrounding them, Valentine Shaw reflected on how a single moment of compassion, the decision to untie a stranger chained in the desert sun, had changed everything. And in her husband's embrace, Olivia silently thanked whatever twist of fate had brought this honorable man to her rescue when all hope seemed lost. Their story, like the West itself, was one of hardship transformed by persistence, of desolation made fertile by care, of strangers becoming family through choice rather than blood. It was a story still being written with each passing day, not just in grand gestures and momentous decisions, but in the quiet moments of ordinary love that sustained them through the years. And as they finally rose to go inside, hand in hand beneath the endless stars, both knew with absolute certainty that they had found their true home not in a place, but in each other.